I'm gonna be honest, my job's quality control, management, something like that. I don't really know. That job, I have no idea what it entails, so around Indiana Deca, I just try to make myself look busy with my computer.
All right, meeting, everyone circle up. Who's in charge of quality control? Jackson. Jackson. Why is this what it's supposed to look like? And this is the obscene watermark that was printed.
I have no idea how that got there. Getting fired? I get it. It's not the most honorable way to leave Indiana Deca, but hey, I had a great experience, met some great new friends, and truly was able to be a business leader throughout this experience. Just yesterday, it feels like I was at the state competition getting elected into my office. Anyways, I'd like to thank the people that were extremely important to me during this process. I'd like to thank my family, my friends, the Indiana Deca advisors, including Brown, Bryant, Jessica Spalding, Miss Eaton. I would also like to thank the Carmel Deca executive team, minus Drew Suketu, sorry Drew, Indiana Deca as a whole, all of the Carmel advisors, especially Chard Reed, he puts in the work, and finally, Carmel Deca as a whole. Thank you guys.
Last week I gave a spatial awareness talk, and nobody paid any attention. It's my own fault for using PowerPoint. PowerPoint is boring. People need to learn in lots of different ways, and experience is the best teacher.
Hey Mary, can you come here for a second? Yeah, what do you need?
Getting fired for saving lives? They'll thank me later. Of course, I wouldn't have been able to save Mary's life without getting started in Deca, so a big thank you to my parents for that. Also, thank you to Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Brown, Miss Spalding, Mrs. Eaton, my advisor, Miss Lidstrom, my friends, and of course, the state officer team. Deca has taught me so much that I am grateful for, so thanks to all of you who have made it possible.
So what'd you call me in for today, boss woman?
Well, Nick, to be honest, I called you in about your lacking sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any contact information for me?
Well, I have one right here. Go ahead and call it.
Let's just see how reliable this is.
Hey, what are you doing this weekend?
Oh, I don't know yet. What about you?
I don't know, just probably like hanging out.
Yeah.
Here. Hey, wait. Listen to this. This is gonna be good. It's Mary calling me for a sponsorship. Hello? Hey. Is the refrigerator running? Cause you better go get it before it runs away. We got it. Yeah.
Well, the end was inevitable, but I'm glad I could go out with my dude, Drew Langford. I've dreamt of serving on the Indiana Deca State Officer team since I was a freshman, and this year's fulfilled that dream. Serving as D7 Prez was incredible. Shout out to my parents, Ken and Mary, my grandma, and my siblings for supporting me. Also, I can't not mention the best Deca partners anybody can have, Chaman and Alex. Without the work of some of the great advisors around the state, this conference or year would not have happened. Mrs. Eaton, Mrs. Bryant, Miss Spalding, and Mrs. Brown, thank you for dealing with us this year. Finally, a special shout out to the best advisors ever, Mrs. Kraft, Miss Kraft, and Mr. Turpin. Thanks for being amazing. So stay classy, Indiana Deca. Nick Payne out.
Well, Nick, if there's any way I want to go up, it would be with you. Now, it's truly been an honor to serve as your District 8 president. Through this experience, there have been many people who have helped me along the way. None of this would have been possible without my amazing advisors, Troy Droshi and Ralph Hartnagel, or Ralph Strong. I would also like to thank Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Brown, Jessica Spalding, and the whole state officer team. Also shout out to Dirty D and the gang, as well as A&L. I'm very excited to see what the next year has to hold. So Avon Deca, keep up the shenanigans, and Indiana Deca, peace out.
Hey Isabel, you don't have the notes from this meeting done yet, do you?
Well, I just don't really get what she expects from me. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good hand turkey. But whatever, stuff happens. Overall, I had a great year with Indiana Deca. First of all, I want to say thank you to my parents for supporting me in everything that I do. My amazing friends for always having my back. Mrs. Kraft for being so awesome and making Deca even possible for me. And Mr. Turpin for stepping up to the plate this year and doing great. Especially Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Eaton, Mrs. Brown, and Miss Sprawling for making all of this possible. You guys have no idea how much work they put into this. And especially Terre Haute South for being the best Deca family ever. And most of all, my state officer team, who started as a bunch of Deca nerds and ended up being some of my best friends. I love all you guys. Thank you, Indiana Deca. You guys are the best.
Hello, Mary.
Marcus,
Finally got the call. I'm gonna play for the Patriots.
is this a joke?
Nope, leaving right now.
I was gonna fire him anyways.
Yeah, we were gonna fire him anyways.
Well, I can't wait for the NFL, but I still had a great time with Indiana Deca. I'd like to thank all of my state advisors and officers, my chapter advisor, Mr. Turner, and my parents for supporting me in everything that I do. Thanks again, Indiana Deca, and 2 more words before I leave. Marcus out.
What is that? You can't do that! Mary! Audrey, what do you need this time?
Look, it's that! You said you wanted me to update your profile, but, oh, see, I messed up. I meant to put, this is a joke. I mean, I'm not mad I got caught. I was just doing my job. But I guess it's goodbye, Indiana Deca. But before I go, I'd like to thank Mrs. Brown, Miss Spalding, and Miss Eaton for everything they've done this past year. Most importantly, I'd like to thank Mrs. B for always having my back and believing in me. And to the officer team, y'all are some crazy people, but I love every one of you. And shout out to the Hidden Valley and TH and Deca. Until next time, Hoosier Deca.
All right, guys, you really got to pick up the sponsorships this year. I need some prospects. What do we have?
Last week, I ended up
Natalie, are you even listening to me?
Mary, I never do. Why start now? I know, ignoring the president wasn't my smartest move. I guess I was going to get fired eventually. Well, as long as I'm leaving, I might as well thank the people that helped get me here and make this experience unforgettable. First, I'd like to thank my current and previous chapter advisors, Mrs. Maxey and Mrs. Moore. Next, I'd like to thank Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Bryant, Miss Spalding, and Mrs. Eaton. Lastly, to the state officer team for giving me a wonderful group of people to ignore.
All right, ladies, what sounds good for dinner tonight?
How about Fogo?
Oh, man, that sounds great to me.
Can I eat anything there? I'm vegan.
How's about St. Elmo's?
That sounds even better.
Can I eat any there? I'm vegan.
Seriously, I'm still hungry. Anyway, I've had an amazing year being the District 2 president, and I'd like to thank Indiana Deca, Mrs. Spalding, Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Eaton, Jimtown High School, and my parents for allowing me to be here today. Anyway, catch you on the flip side.
They said Bart's room was 541, right?
Yeah, 541.
Bart, what is going on? What are you doing? No, you know what? You're done. You're done. Get out.
What? No,
you're done.
no.
Yeah, bye, Bart. Bye, Bart. Bye, Bart.
Well, Indiana Deca, if I have to go, there are a few people I need to thank before I leave. First, I'd like to thank my parents for all of their support. My advisor, Mr. Davis, also deserves many thanks for everything he's done for me and for all of Yorktown Deca. Next, I would like to thank Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Eaton, and Miss Spalding for everything they have done to prepare for this amazing conference and everything they do for Indiana Deca throughout the whole year. Lastly, I would like to thank the rest of the state officer team for all of the good times we've had over the past year, all of my friends in Yorktown Deca, and last but not least, all of you, Indiana Deca, for being such an awesome association and allowing me this opportunity to serve as one of your officers. It's been great.
I had to fire Audrey. She was getting way too annoying.
Frankly, I think this is an outrage. I've done nothing but help Mary, and I know Indiana Deca is going to be devastated when they hear I've been fired. But I would like to thank them for their continued support of me over these past 2 years. I would like to give a special shout out to my chapter, Westfield High School, and my 2 amazing advisors, Mrs. Gowdy and Mrs. S. And also a thank you to my wonderful team and Mrs. Eaton, Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Brown, and Jess Spalding. To everyone who has believed in me and my message, you have kept me going over these past few years. And I cannot express my gratitude. It's been real, Indiana. Thank you.
Now that everyone's gone, I may as well resign. I guess I should say thank you to a few people. Thank you to Mrs. Bryant, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Eaton, and Miss Spalding for all their help and hard work. Thank you to my past and current officers for making these past 2 years very memorable. Thank you to Mr. Turner and my Washington chapter for being some of my best friends. And finally, I'd like to thank the Indiana Deca members for their continued support throughout my term. Thank you.